Hi, this is just a short message about TV licences and whether you need one for the Wallasey Gossip site. And it might save you some money. A colour TV licence these days costs £145.50 a year, but you don't necessarily have to have one. You have to have one if you're watching live broadcast TV to television channels, be it the BBC or another channel. If you're watching them as they're being broadcast, or you're recording them as they're being broadcast, then you do need a television licence. These days though, people use television sets for lots of other things, particularly watching the likes of Netflix, Amazon TV, all the online streaming services. And if you use your TV just to watch those kinds of services, then you don't need to have a licence. You can also watch iPlayer and 4OD and all the catch-up services. Of course, you can watch your DVDs and MP4s and things on your television set that you may have recorded, providing they weren't live broadcast recordings. And in those cases, you don't need to have a television licence, and it's perfectly legal. You don't need to disable any tuning functions on your TV. I know at one time people used to disconnect the tuner in the television and remove it, and that way they could say that we don't watch live TV because the television isn't capable of receiving a television signal. Nowadays you don't have to do that. If your television is capable of receiving a signal, that doesn't mean you have to have a licence. It's only if you actually use it to receive a signal, a live television broadcast. You also need a television licence though if you're watching live TV on other devices such as a tablet or a smartphone, but not normally more than one licence in the household. So it could be if you don't have a television set but you do watch live television on your tablet or computer or smartphone, you would need a licence for that. Remember, the key is it's the live broadcast television. It doesn't matter which channel you're watching. If you're watching live TV, that would include BBC, Granada, ITV, Channel 5, Channel 4 and so on. It's not just the BBC, so you can't get away with it by saying I only watch ITV. Your TV licence covers you for all the live broadcast television channels. But if you're not watching any of those, then, like I said, you don't need a TV licence. Well, to cancel your television licence, the first thing to do is cancel your direct debit with your bank, because the payment could be due out anytime soon. So cancel your direct debit first, because once you've paid it, it would be difficult to try and get money back. So cancel the payment with your bank first. You'll need to advise TV licensing, which you can do online, that you've cancelled your payments and you no longer require a licence. So if you Google it, you'll find you can do that online. It's possible you could get a visit from TV licensing from an inspector to confirm that you're not watching TV. But the thing is, they haven't any right to entry of your house unless they have a court order, which is highly unlikely. They'd have to have some evidence to obtain a court order that you are watching live TV. So if a television inspector calls, television licence inspector calls, they don't have right of access to your property, and just politely explain to them that you don't intend to let them in, and that you've been in touch with the television licensing authority, and that's as much information as you should give them. Don't give them any more information than that, but be polite. If a policeman came along with a TV licensing officer or inspector, that would only be to keep the peace, just to make sure that you don't attack him or he doesn't try to force his way into your house. So that it's no business really of the police other than the keeping of the peace aspect. The police can't aid them in entering your property, and they have no right whatsoever to enter your property. You have to allow them in. When I say you have to allow them in, I don't mean you have to allow them in. I mean, for them to enter your property. It could only be on the occasion where you have allowed them in. You don't have to allow them in at all. Is it legal? Yes, it is. Providing you have complied with the things I've mentioned before, that you haven't been watching or recording live broadcast TV, then it's completely 100% legal. Have I done this myself? Yes, I have. I haven't heard from the TV licensing other than to confirm that they've registered the fact that I don't have a TV licence anymore, and that's the last I heard of it. So it was a nice simple procedure, and as it was about 12 months ago when I did it, and I genuinely don't watch live broadcast television, as it was about 12 months ago when I did it, I've saved myself £145.50 in the last 12 months. Some people think that if you own a television set, you have to pay your licence fee, and that isn't true. It doesn't matter if you've got an aerial up on the roof or whatever, and own a television set. If you don't use it to watch live broadcast TV, for instance, if you just never turn it on, if you're one of those people that never bothers watching television, providing you don't do it, well, you haven't got a licence, you're not breaking any laws whatsoever. And it's perfectly legal to cancel your television licence and save yourself the money. I ought to mention, by the way, if anybody else in your household does watch live broadcast TV, then that household is responsible for having a licence. So the fact you don't watch TV but your kids do would mean you would need a licence then, if they were watching live broadcast television or recording live broadcast TV. I'll put up a few graphics, by the way, of some of the services you can use, like Netflix, where you don't need a TV licence, just to give you some ideas, because they might be things you use mostly. I watch BBC iPlayer quite often, perfectly legally, because it's catch-up TV. I watch Netflix pretty much exclusively. I watch that all the time. And then anything else I watch tends to be on YouTube,